Firstly, we have boot software. A boot software is software which is executed in a special part of server memory that's used primarily to boot the ECU and perform server reprogramming. Boot software is usually made of boot manager. In the last video, we had an overview on the common diagnostic services supported by Automotive ECU. Before we dive into the specifics of each service, let's first get an understanding to some important definitions to understand the specifics. First, let's understand what are server and client. Server and client are two nodes of communication. A client is an entity who makes requests to the server for information for the purpose of diagnosis, identification, etc. A client such as tester is a system that controls the functions such as test, inspection, monitoring, or diagnosis of an on-vehicle electronic control unit. A tester may also be dedicated to a specific type of operator such as offboard scan tool dedicated to garage mechanics or a offboard test tool dedicated to assembly plant. Coming to server, it's an entity who provides relevant response to client for the request made. Functions inside the ECU performs the operations necessary to provide the response to the client. Next, let's look into few boot terminologies. Firstly, we have boot software. A boot software is software which is executed in a special part of server memory that's used primarily to boot the ECU and perform server reprogramming. Boot software is usually made of boot manager, which is part of boot software that executes immediately after an ECU reset or a power on. Primary purpose of this software is to check whether a valid application is available to execute. If not, then to transfer the control to the reprogramming software such as bootloader. So a bootloader is a part of boot software which performs the reprogramming of application and other reprogrammable blocks. Now let's get a bit deeper into terminologies concerned with diagnostics. Firstly, we have diagnostic data. A diagnostic data is a data that is located in the memory of electronic control unit which may be inspected or possibly modified by the tester. Diagnostic data includes analog inputs and outputs, digital inputs and outputs, intermediate values, and various status information. Example of diagnostic data are vehicle speed, throttle angle, mirror position, etc. Diagnostic data can contain three types of values. Firstly, the current value. This is the value that's currently used by or resulting from a normal operation of electronic control unit. Then we have stored values. This value is an internal copy of the current value made at specific moments, such as when a malfunction occurs or periodically by the ECU. And lastly, we have static value. This value is a constant value that might not change during the lifetime of the ECU or vehicle, such as the VIN number. After getting an understanding on the diagnostic data, let's understand records. A record is one or more diagnostic data elements that are referred to or extracted together by a single means of identification. Next, we have diagnostic routine. This is a routine that is embedded in the electronic control unit and that may be started by a server upon a request from client. Next, we have diagnostic service. This is an information exchange initiated by the client in order to request diagnostic information from a server or to modify its behavior for diagnostic purposes. Next, we have diagnostic session. This is a state in the server during which specific set of diagnostic services and functionality is enabled. Next, we have diagnostic trouble code, also called as DTC. DTC is a numeric identification for the fault condition identified by an onboard diagnostic system. Next, we have permanent DTC, which is a diagnostic trouble code or DTC that remains in the non-volatile memory even after a cleared DTC request is sent. It shall sometimes be cleared only if certain criteria, typically regulatory, are met. Let's understand two important definitions, that's onboard and offboard diagnostics. An onboard diagnostic is the automotive electronic system's capability to provide vehicle self-diagnosis and reporting of data to repair technicians. This system monitors the vehicle on road and has the capability to provide data on real time if OBD tester tool is connected or through any other similar mechanism. Critical functionality such as emission is diagnosed by onboard diagnostics. Then we have offboard diagnostics. Offboard diagnostics takes care of diagnosis of all vehicle issues except emission. UDS is the most common protocol used in offboard diagnostics. With this, we have covered all the most commonly used terminologies in diagnostics. In upcoming session, we will have a look into each diagnostic service in detail. Thank you.